Hey kiddos, today we're going to be talking about generalizations. I'm going to make my screen bigger here. All right, so today we're going to be talking generalizations and we're going to kind of put it all together. So all week we have been writing our generalizations, and we know generalizations say most, many, all, few, and some. But we're going to take it a step further. Today our generalizations are not going to use those words. So typically if we are writing a generalization, we're going to use those words. But today we're going to be practicing how to make a generalization or a general statement about a story that we're given. Now this is the way that you should think about it. You should think, what is this mostly about? What is it all about? So when we read this story, we're going to say to ourselves, the generalization is what it is mostly about. So that's how we're going to practice this today, and it will help you a lot when you're doing your paper or your test for tomorrow, and also your paper for grade that you're going to have after this. So let's go ahead and get started. So follow along with me. Let me move myself here so you can see all those words. Follow along with me as I read this story. It says, we went on a hike yesterday, and today my legs are so sore. The hike was 5 miles long, and it was all uphill. My backpack was really heavy, and I got a blister on my heel. So now our question says, which of these statements is a generalization about the hike? So we're going to say to ourselves, what was this hike mostly about? A, the hike was difficult. B, the hike was 5 miles long. Or C, the hike caused me to get a blister on my heel. Which one of these is the generalization about the hike? Which means, what was it mostly about? Please write A, B, or C. And I forgot to tell you to get out a piece of paper and a pencil or a whiteboard and a marker. So if you have to pause the video, go do that. The correct answer for this one is A. That whole story was about how this hike is difficult. His legs were sore. It was 5 miles. It was uphill. He even got a blister on his foot. I am not allowed to pick that it was 5 miles long. Was this whole thing about being 5 miles? No. Was this whole thing about how the hike caused me to get a blister on my heel? No, that's not true. So none of those things are true. All right, let's do another one. Now this one's kind of long, so pay attention. Here we go. Some kinds of pencils are made just for drawing. Others are better for writing. There are thick pencils for children who are just learning to write. Some pencils have erasers and some don't. Even though most pencils are yellow, you can buy pencils in almost any color you want. Which of these statements is a generalization about pencils? What is this story mostly about? Is it mostly about there are many different kinds of pencils? Is it mostly about pencils come in many colors? Is it mostly about some pencils are made for drawing? Write your answer on your paper. What do you think the story was mostly about? Well, it is A. It is mostly that there are many different kinds of pencils. Is this whole story about that pencils come in many colors? No, it had that some pencils are for drawing and some are for writing. That's not about colors. Was the whole story about some pencils are made for drawing? No, some are for writing and some are for kids who are just learning to write. This whole thing is about how there's different kinds of pencils. Let's try another one. Mrs. Carver is 98 years old. She uses a cane to help her walk. She has 9 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. When she was little, she played outside a lot. There was no TV, computers, or video games. All right. Which of these statements is a generalization about Mrs. Carver? So what is this whole story about? Mrs. Carver has lived for a long time. Mrs. Carver has 5 great-grandchildren. Mrs. Carver did not watch TV when she was little. Which one of those is a generalization? What is that story mostly about? If you chose A, you are correct. The whole story isn't about her 5 great-grandchildren. The whole story is not about her watching TV. That whole story is about Mrs. Carver living for a long time. Let's do another one. Every morning, Mr. Tate wakes up at 5 o'clock to get ready to go to work. It is still dark when he opens the curtains in the kitchen. He tries to make his breakfast quietly so that he won't wake the rest of his family. Which of these statements is a generalization about Mr. Tate? What was this whole story about? It is still dark when Mr. Tate wakes up. Mr. Tate makes his breakfast quietly. Mr. Tate wakes up early in the morning. What was the whole thing about? A generalization is what is it mostly about? What did you choose? The correct answer is C. The whole thing was about him waking up early in the morning. Was the whole thing about it still being dark out? Well, no, it says he woke up at 5. That's not about being dark. He opened the curtains. That's not about being dark. He tries to make his breakfast quietly. Is that about being dark? No, it's about him waking up early. B, Mr. Tate makes his breakfast quietly. Well, is that the whole thing? He wakes up at 5. Is that about his breakfast? No. It says he opens the curtains and it's still dark. Is that about his breakfast? No. So we have to do what is it mostly about. All right, let's try another one. If you want to play soccer, you will need a pair of cleats. If you like hiking, you should get a good pair of hiking boots. Runners wear running shoes and scuba divers need flippers. Which of these statements is a generalization about sports? A, soccer players wear cleats. B, scuba divers need flippers. Or C, some sports require specific shoes. What is this mostly about? What did you choose? The right answer is C. It talks about cleats for soccer, hiking boots for hiking, divers needing flippers. Is the whole thing just about soccer players? No. Is the whole thing just about scuba divers? No. So it's mostly about all the different kinds of shoes. Let's try this one. It rained really hard yesterday. There was thunder and lightning. It was windy too. Some of the branches got blown off of a tree in our front yard. The weather report on the radio recommended that everyone stay indoors. Which of these statements is a generalization about the weather yesterday? A, there was thunder and lightning. B, it was stormy. Or C, it rained really hard. What is this whole thing about? What did you choose? The correct answer was B. Was the whole thing about the thunder and lightning? No, it says it rained really hard. It said it was windy. It says some of the branches got blown off. That's not just about thunder and lightning. Was the whole thing about it rained really hard? Well, it said that in the story, but it also said it was thunder and lightning and that it was windy and some of the branches got blown off. That's not just about it raining really hard. That whole thing is about it being stormy. When it's stormy, it rains hard, there's thunder and lightning, there could be damage. So when you think of a generalization, you need to remember that if I'm doing a generalization, it's what it is mostly about. What is that whole thing about? It's not just one little piece, it's the entire thing. All right, kiddos, if you're not sure on this, rewatch this video. You are going to have a puzzle piece to check your understanding about generalizations. And on tomorrow's test, you will also have a lot of questions about generalizations. We'll see you soon.